Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Brenda here for another strategy session. And this week, our focus is all on brand. As I said yesterday, brand is all about setting your foundations. So these sessions are Q&As based on what we've done the previous day. I'm just going to talk a wee bit more about brand because it's such a big thing for me, and maybe that's because I'm so connected with my values, and that's what I think is important to drive you, to keep you optimistic, to keep you positive, to keep you motivated, to inspired, that intrinsic motivation. And that's all based on the values once they are conscious within you. And this is what it does for you when you know your values. As I've said time and time again, many people, we all have values, we all have principles, but how conscious are we? That's the difference between great leaders, people who do well in business, and others who just flounder and drift, and they never understand why they're not making it. Because most people will have lots of the elements that they need. They might not have all the elements, but they'll have enough elements that are floating around. And the most important thing is that you learn to join the dots of the different elements to be successful as an author, as a speaker, as a business owner, in other words, as an entrepreneur. And that's what makes this whole entrepreneur journey more challenging and important, because we're not talking about just being an author. So you're knowing your brand and knowing who you are applies to every single element. And guess what? That makes it easier, because it's the one person driving the three things, you know? And the power of three is so incredible. So think of the shamrocks and think of all the things that have got elements of three. Triangles, very strong shape, particularly when you put them side by side and you invert them. It's the strongest shape that you can find. And that's why when you look at bridges and you look at a lot of structures, they've got triangles. So anyway, brand, know yourself. See, it's easy to kind of go off on a tangent, isn't it? Let's bring us back to brand, and it'll always be know yourself. And what I find, and I find that when you are committed, you are conscious, and then you commit to yourself, and we should always be committed to yourself in private and in anything we do socially, always be committed to being that best version. You know, I put out a post that, last week, and it was about, we're always striving to be the best in a public way, you know, to be the best in our business, to be the best at what we do, whether it's singing on stage, playing an instrument, whether it's sport, whether it's art, whatever it is. We can sometimes, if we've got that competitiveness in us, we want to be, we want to show to the world that we're great at what we do. And there's nothing wrong with that, for sure. But I added a bit to a post last week, and it says, what if we flipped it 180 degrees? And what if we decided we were going to be the best person at home? Now that would make an interesting little study, to start being the best at home. Because sometimes we get so relaxed and we can get, like, I don't want to use the word lazy, but you know, sometimes we're not motivated as much, and we get into patterns, you know, that don't often benefit us to help us grow and energize us and give us the oomph to keep going, the va-va-voom. I used to talk a lot about va-va-voom. So brand, so think about it as personal branding, because you're your business and your business is you. So when we look at that personal brand, we're taking that conscious decision and an intentional effort behind the decision to create and influence the public's perception of who you are. And obviously, as authors, we want to position ourselves as an authority in whatever our industry is. We want to elevate our credibility. And we're unique, so we want to always be differentiating ourselves from competition. But there in itself is a word that it's a bit of a paradox, because the only competition we want is with ourselves, but we want to collaborate with others because there's no competition, because there's enough to go round. I mean, there's thousands of marketers in the world. There's hundreds of publishers across the world, and we're all doing well, you know. We're not a monopoly, so therefore it's about collaboration. And ultimately, we want to advance ourselves. We want to grow and expand and evolve and elevate, and all these wonderful words that I like using. And we want to increase the circle of influence. You know, think of the ripple. So there's you, and you've got your ripple, and then there's the people you work with. You've got your creative team, you've got your family, you've got your friends, then you've got all the connections in business, then you've got all your readers that you're influencing, and it goes on and on and on, and then they put a plot. So that's how I call it, ripples of brilliance. And when you've got that circle of influence, you make a greater impact. It's more significant. And significant is a great word that I would urge you to be using rather than important. Significance has got more meaning that's pinpointed and focused than it's important. So there, even in that just one little chunk that I've just relayed to you, there's so much in it for you to find the evidence that's what you're doing. And you always want to look for your evidence in your personal brand. Where are you seeing the presence of your personal brand? Where is that? And what's the evidence of you being in that place? What evidence is there of you being in, say, LinkedIn? Of course, you've got your post, that's evidence. But what's your evidence of influence? What are people saying? How many people are following you? Same for Facebook, same for Instagram. What's the impact you're making? How will you know if what you say people take action on? Sometimes we don't know, but we just have to know within ourselves that people are doing it. You know, people reaching out. I have people reaching out to me on a daily basis with all sorts of wonderful words. People from all over the world reaching out to talk to me about their book. Only today, I've got a new contact in Africa who's already written a first book and they want to write a second book. And they saw a post. So that post influenced them and inspired them to take action. That action was to reach out. And the impact of that is now I'm having a discussion with them. Wow, one post. I don't even know what post it is. I have to go and investigate that. What post did I put out yesterday that made this man reach out to me all the way from Africa? That's the importance of brand, being true to who you are, being consistent in what you say. So in most posts, I'm saying I'm making a difference. And these buzz phrases that we looked on in our statement yesterday, in the brand statement that we just touched on, that you're going to work through. These phrases will stick when you say them over and over again, like just do it. I'm loving it. All of these phrases stick and they become the brand of significance. They're your first thought. What's the brand? So if I say it's motor car, what brand comes into your head? If I say fashion, what brand comes into your head? If I say high street stores, what brand comes into your head? Ask yourself why. What is it? Something about it that's resonating with you. So let's think about it, because we're living in a digital world now. Because once upon a time, we'd be out and about and we would give a good handshake. Pre-COVID, at one point we weren't giving handshakes. We were at the boom boom. We're at the, the elbow pumping and the fist pumping and things like that. But a firm handshake, you could tell a lot from a firm handshake. And when you opened your mouth and started talking, that's your credentials. You're given an auditory, so we've got a physical, we've got auditory, what we're saying, and we could make a great first impression. In fact, we can make an excellent first impression when we know who we are and we know what we stand for, and we come with that energy and that absolute authenticity of really being present and enjoying meeting that person. I bet you, if I asked you a question, have you met people and you've just felt it's been mechanical? Well, you don't want to be mechanical. You don't want to be that person that just goes, oh, hello, nice to meet you. And it's all false, false, false. And that's why I say, do what you love and love what you do. There's another brand statement. That's the Brenda Dempsey brand statement. So if you're in business and in the service industry, you better make sure that you love people, or you'll get eked out and you might need to go back to the drawing board. People are challenging, relationships are challenging, but that's half the battle and half the fun. Working on your own emotional intelligence, and how do I learn to understand people better? By understanding myself first. So we're getting deep here. But anyway, so once upon a time we could find out about that. Okay. But now, as I said, we're in a digital world. So another way your brand makes an impact is through blogging. And as an author, you should be blogging regularly. Not only should you be blogging and putting it on your own website, you should be guest blogging and going to websites where you can upload your blog. It's important that people get a flavour and a taste of you as an author, your writing. And then you can have a whole list of credentials that say, I'm a writer, I'm an author. Not only have I got, oh look, I've got the kids' book here that's just out this week. Not only am I an author with a book in my hand, but go and see all the things that are important to me that reflect my brand, because that's what you should be blogging about. Everything that reflects your brand. Nothing else. Nothing else. That's how you need to know who you are. And what are the topics that reflect my brand? So what are the topics as a publisher am I going to speak about? Well, I'm a holistic publisher because I can speak about marketing. I can speak about PR. I can speak about personal development. I can speak about business. I can speak about brand. I can speak about beyond your book. I can speak about the importance of networking, because we run networking events. And I do a lot of networking, hence I have a huge presence on an international stage. And being given awards for my work from international businesses, not just here in the UK. So what's your brand? What's your brand? So blogs, massive. We'll do a whole thing on blogs. Facebook and Twitter, social media. So when you're on, or LinkedIn's my favourite, I've got to say. And I think if you're in business, you must be on LinkedIn. Facebook, I'm not as in love with Facebook today. Some people still love it. Know your business and know where your audience are. And if your audience are more on Facebook, get there. Especially as an author, there's lots of great groups there. But be selective. That's for another day. But is your brand consistent across all of the platforms? So get it consistent on one and then start rippling out to the others. It depends how much visibility you have. And for me, visibility should be ubiquitous. You should be everywhere, popping up, because then I will put a post out and I'll get people saying, oh my goodness, I've just seen you here. You're everywhere. And sometimes I think, well, I'm not as everywhere as I could be, but obviously I'm popping up. My name's popping up. Type your name in Google and see where you pop up. So if I put Brenda Dempsey, I'm everywhere. You can see that. So put your name in. In fact, here's something funny. David was having a joke, and we got Alexa a couple of weeks back. and he asked Alexa, who's Brenda Dempsey? Thinking nothing. It came up with me and my name, and we howled with laughter, you know, so it's quite fun. So you just don't know where you're going to come up. It's really quite funny. So make sure you are, start off with one. So I've been going a number of years now, 10 years or more. So I have moved around and added more social media to my catalogue, so to speak. Because when you're on these platforms, you can speak directly to that audience, that reader, that client. Now, remember, I'm sure I've told you before, remember when you're writing in blogs, don't be writing in the third person. Don't be writing we, be writing you, the second person. A little bit of I, but more of you. You. Sometimes you can say we, but it's all about the reader. So it should be you. Remember, your blog should be like a personal conversation. Just like when you work with us, we tell you your book should be a personal conversation with the reader. That's the same for everything. That's the best quality writing. That's the best advice. And if you go to great people out there, they'll all tell you the same thing. And I know that as a teacher of English, and using the second person for persuasive writing is what you should use. Advertising, you. Persuasive writing, you. Your book, talking to that audience direct as if they're having a one-to-one with you. Powerful beyond measure. And of course, you know, the brand keeps showing up, being you with the same messages, the same voice. Is it witty? As I explained yesterday, what our brand voice is. Know your brand voice and what are those 5 characteristics of your brand voice. And then it's like in person. So when they meet you, they already know you. I remember a few years ago when I was doing my NLP and I was on a course for a week, and I walked into the room. I didn't know a single person in the room except for the lady, Lenka Latonska, who was doing NLP training. And I walked in and 2 women looked at me and went, oh, you're Brenda Dempsey. And I looked behind me and I thought, oh, how did you know that? They went, oh, we see you on Facebook. I hadn't even joined the dots. So that was in the days before I knew about joining dots. I didn't join dots. I just was doing things. I was drifting, and no wonder I wasn't successful. The minute you join your dots with your brand, boom, success. Absolutely, for sure, you know? So what questions can you ask yourself? Well, what do you want to be known for? Think about it. That's all around that legacy, which is very important. And we'll have we'll do something on that as well. So, according to Don Ramusen, president of Portland, Oregon Pathfinder Writing and Career Services, personal branding is how we define ourselves in the workspace while incorporating the personal elements that make us who we are. So, brand is all about who we are, who are you. Very important. So when you build a brand that's 100% based on you, you are laying the foundation to capitalize on your blue ocean. Remember, I keep talking about ripples, 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 ripples. Water, 3 states in water. Be water. I think Julie Lewis will like me talking about that. And it's a space where you can operate in an uncontested marketplace because it's your space. When you are focused on you and your brand and working within your space, working within that ring of confidence, you can do no wrong. You are the kingpin, the queen. And when you're embracing that brand and that is conscious, then it's easy to do. You've no competitive forces. You've just got yourself and bettering yourself each day. How can I do this better tomorrow than I've done today? How do I show up? Do I show up on time or am I late? Do I show up early? How do I show up? Do I show up full of energy with a genuine smile and happy to be there? That's what's important. So important. So important. The thing is, going back to competitiveness, remember this, no one is you, nor can they clone you. Sure, some people copy people's content, but you know, as a teacher, that's all right. I'm not precious. I am not precious that people, if people, absolutely, if I wrote something, let's say a blog, and somebody lifted it and put their name to it and used it, I wouldn't be upset. I would feel great, because you have to learn not to let the ego get in the way. Because if you're writing a blog that's got a message, and remember the ripple effect, remember you've got a message to an influence and impact others, who cares whose name's on it? It's your words and you know that. That's all that matters, what you know. Not like, oh, somebody's stolen that. And you see it all over Facebook. Oh, somebody took my program, somebody did this, somebody did that. It's not a nice feeling. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's okay to do that. I'm not condoning that behavior. Absolutely, I'm not. I want to say that right now. But what I'm saying is, and let me give you an example. So Simon Sinek, you know, begin with why. Now, he took a concept that's not original. But what he did, he took a concept of start with why, begin with why. And he put his own spin on it. And he used the fundamental concept that you can't change, start with why. And then he wrote a book, and that book it's a very famous book, and thousands of people have read it, if not millions. And he was interviewed, this interview is on YouTube, and he was interviewed and was asked, why did he not make that his own intellectual property? And he said, because it's not my intellectual property. And I was saying, the wheel's already been invented. Of course, you can make the wheel, you can dress the wheel up any way you like to make it your own. And that's what he did. He simply dressed up the wheel, which is start with why, and made it his own. So therefore, he encourages you. I love this man for this. He encourages you to lift his work and use it. He doesn't even care if you give him credit for it, because he knows the significance and the value and the potency of begin with why. Now, the thing about that book and why he's correct in not trademarking it is because before he wrote that book, in my degree in the 90s, that's what I was taught, long before he wrote that book in the 2000s, 10 years previously. Begin with why. It's great narrative questioning. It's part of that. It's part of speech and language development narrative. So therefore, and I'm sure even when I learned it in education and my training, teacher training, I'm sure I actually must go and find out what, the year that it first came to fruition. There's a wee challenge for me. You see, we can inspire ourselves. So just remember that nobody can clone you. So you need to know what makes you you. So you need to know, what are my good sides and what are my, I don't like the word weaknesses, so developments. What are my development needs, you know, all the positive language. So, you know, are you a loyal person? I have integrity. I love working with people. I just love it. I get such a buzz out of it, especially when it's like-minded people. You know, I'm honest. Hardworking. These are all, you know, I love family. Love is a value of mine. Wisdom is another great value. So really know who you are and what makes you you, and what is it. So your brand needs that foundation. And of course, we know, where does brand begin? Values, vision, and mission. We know that. We know that. You've heard me bang on about it enough. So always know that the brand needs it. And as I said earlier, it has to be built on authenticity. It has to be built on you and from a soul level. That's why it's an inner journey. Your brand is an inner journey. It's not anything that's outside. It comes from the inside. Think of all the great people that you love, that you like to listen to, the people that you know, that's just something about them. And that's authenticity. That's their honesty, and they speak about it. They share what's not good about them. They share their failures. We fail every day and we get back up. We're so resilient. You know, there's things like, I'm just trying to think of something, like, you know, so on Friday, I was in a meeting that overran, which then put everything else out my head. So I forgot to talk to somebody on Friday. I messaged them as soon as I remembered, apologising profusely. And then we met on Monday morning at 9 o'clock instead. Be honest. I will not turn up and give you a bullshit excuse for why I don't show up, or I'm late, or something didn't work out. I will tell you why. I will say, oh, maybe I didn't give it enough time. You know, maybe I should have taken more care in my thought. You know, it's so important to be honest. People will respect you for it, rather than come up with a sob story or a cock and bull story, whatever it is you use, you know. And always be true to your skills. You know, if you're great at something, it's okay to say you're great at it. And in fact, I encourage you, because we're frightened to step into our greatness. And that's my whole purpose in life, to bring out your greatness and show your brilliance. We have to know what we're great at and what we're not so good at, you know. I can tinkle on a number of musical instruments, but I can't play any perfectly, except a recorder. Play anything on that. Take me back to my 8-year-old child, you know. What do you believe in? Never falter from what you believe in. You know, that's your brand. What do you stand for and what do you stand against? I will say that time and time again. Know what you're not going to... I don't like the word tolerate. What do you stand against? You know, so it's injustice. What is the one thing? Injustice is a big thing for me. People not being believed is massive for me, and that's to do with my driver being integrity and honesty and openness. So when you find that people aren't being believed and it's a truth, oh, that really makes me... So what is it for you? What is it, you know? The most important thing is, once you know who you are, take consistent action. Doesn't matter the size of the step, and you'll go forward, and you'll have a step or two back, and you'll go forward, but always you'll be on that upward trajectory. Always. And be constant in what your message is. Constant. Say it so that you know, I remember I used to get fed up hearing the same thing until I understood that that is my message, and that I'm not going to stop saying it, because there's billions of people in the world that need to hear it. That's part of your purpose and what gives meaning to your life. Do you see how deep all this is? This is how we go this deep. Really know what it is you want. In the beginning, I remember people saying, why do you want to be a coach? I want to help people. Who do you want to help? I want to help everybody. Well, that's not true to your authenticity, and that's not true to your messaging. Of course, we want to help as many people as we can, but you've got a gift, and that gift is to help a certain group of people. Because we've all got gifts, so we're all helping different groups. We're all busy doing our thing in our own spaces, in our own places, you know. Now, I've got a diploma, not a diploma, sorry, a certificate in special educational needs, because I did some postgraduate work, and also did a postgraduate diploma. But I don't always put out that I've got my diploma. And today, this morning, before I got to my desk, I was sorting through some personal papers, and I found my letter telling me that I had been awarded a diploma. I had lost that letter, but not only that, I had gone through a whole barrage. That was a very black time in my life, that I don't know where that diploma certificate went to. So now I'm going to write to university to tell them to reissue it. So I have that diploma. I knew I had done that work, but I was reticent to say that. So make sure you are honest about the qualifications and the credentials that you've got. Don't make them up. Don't make them up. Lots of people make them up. You don't need to make them up, because actually it's what you say and how you show up. That's what's important, not the bits of paper that you've got. Nobody asks me to see all my paperwork. Nobody. They take it on face value, that I say I've got this degree and I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. Nobody asks, but why did they take it in face value? Because they trust me, because I show up consistently day in and day out. And that's what you need to do as your brand. And what are your passions and interests as a brand? How do they show up? How do you share that with your audience and your authors, not your authors, sorry, your readers? Because you want that resonance between them. You know, so like, let's say I like skiing. I've never skied in my life. So I'm just taking something that I've not, just to give you an example. So let's say it's taking skiing. So when you're talking and sharing wee tidbits, and only share tidbits of your personal life, then a reader might go, well, I love skiing as well. Well, I'm definitely reading her book. Like-minded, birds of a feather, flock together, etc., etc., etc. So it's so important that all these things. Now, here's a word that I haven't added in yet. All these brand elements that we're working on in this course for your brand brilliance, awakening the brand awareness, they're called assets. What are your brand assets? Now, doesn't that sound great? I think it sounds great. I forgot about that. It's a BA. Whoa, what are your brand assets? What have you got? So that's your values, your vision, your mission, your strategy. That's your brand voice. They're your assets. They're you. They're what makes up you, just like your DNA. So there we have it. There's a bit more information all around brand to deepen your understanding and why it's so critical in your success, to your authenticity, to your ability to reach out to other people. Because by being you in an authentic way, you don't need to do anything else. I just show up and I speak with passion, and I speak with energy and enthusiasm as a lover of life, as a lover of people. And that's all. And that's my attraction. That took me 60 odd years to know what my attraction is. Do you know why people are attracted to you? See, once you do, boom, it's great. But of course, remember, the caveat is you only use it for good, because we don't want to go to the flip side and then become manipulators. Because the difference between being influential and a manipulator is manipulators do it for their own benefit, whereas influencers do it for the benefit of others. So I know, hand in heart, in my soul, that I have shown all my life that I want people to be better than they are. Always started with inner child, with helping children in Africa as a teacher, and then all the other work that I've done in my 25 years of teaching, and now in my business, and now in my publishing. So there we have it. Now, we'd be opening up for questions at this point. So I am hoping very soon that we have an audience, a class to teach. So the morning one can be, I don't know, remember we're trying to find a name for these. We've got coffee in class, that I quite like that. Tea and teach, don't know about that. That's okay. Maybe you can help me come up with a name for these sessions, because our strategy session's just a bit dull. Remember, we're trying to be witty. Remember, that's our brand voice. So let's come up with something that's really warm and gives us a great feeling, and happy to be part of. And that's what I'm working hard on right now, to make sure you're happy to come here and spend time with me and learn and take it away and then act on it, implement it, because knowledge is nothing. Oh, and there's the phone. I think that tells us it's time to go. So until tomorrow, when we are back, and watch out, because we'll be having guest speakers. And so once we have audiences, I will get guest speakers to come. And because I'm not asking a guest speaker that's really going to help you, for nobody to turn up. So let's share with me what you would like to be going over. But of course, the whole point is to go through the whole curriculum with you and go through it at a deeper level. And that's what these Brenda I don't know, come up with a word. Briefings are about, I suppose. A bit more than a briefing, actually. But anyway, so until the next time, this is Brenda saying, be brilliant, much love, and to the bit.